I'm here with Dick Forsyth of the WW1 Aviation Heritage Trust and this magnificent Albatross. Sir, this is quite a machine.
It is indeed. It's the latest of 4 aircraft we have from the Vintage Aviator in New Zealand. It's a reproduction, not a replica, so it's as near as you can get.
So it's built with original plans?
Yes, and with the original limitations as well. So it can be very challenging to operate. It has bungee cord for suspension. It has no brakes. The tail skid is affixed, so taxiing on the ground is a bit of a challenge. But otherwise, it's a very impressive looking aeroplane. Perhaps its impressiveness it belies a slight lack of performance, not in terms of the engine power, it's a Mercedes-Benz engine, not in terms of the firepower, because a 2 Spandau machine gun, belt-fed, again with 1,000 rounds of ammunition, but they were up against people changing drums every 45 or 90 rounds.
When was this design introduced during the war?
1970. This particular version, this is the last of a one that started at D1. It's now D5A.
So this is
the latest. This is the final one. Arguably not entirely progressing, improving as they went along, because they changed the struts, which are on the wing here, because they were very impressed with the Newport range, which was V-strutted, but they had a much smaller lower wing than this one, and it would appear they didn't entirely understand the significance of the centre of gravity moving up and down. So that's quite a few. What
would this have been up against from the Allies?
SE5A, the DH2, right at the end of the DH2. Lano Hawker was killed in fighting von Richthofen in a D3 version of this, which had standard struts, standard spacing, and arguably for my colleagues in New Zealand, probably the best of the versions. It suffered from becoming a V-strutter.
So they adopted the Newport style struts, but that was a hindrance to performance.
Well, they thought they were going to get the kind of maneuverability that the Newports had, but they didn't actually follow exactly the way the Newport was designed, and it's all to do with the size and the C/G range of the lower wing.
Now, what stands out most for me is this amazing fuselage. This is all wooden monocoque.
Yeah, and that's a pretty near first. Yes, with this magnificent Edelweiss on it, which is the legendary flower in Bavaria, which Otto Kissenberth, whose livery it was, and they were all encouraged to have different livery. I think it was a really good idea, because when you're flying around, you knew who was next to you.
So this is Otto Kissenberth's aircraft.
Yeah. Well, this is
the markings.
Yeah. And you can look in the cockpit, you can see that it's a bit of a higgledy-piggledy. I don't think ergonomics had actually arrived in 1916, 17. But the Albatross, the other strength, Albatross is the name of the company that actually was taken over in 1929 by Focke-Wulf, and clearly that died out at the end of World War II. But they were the first people to understand mass production. So there were a lot of these, even though they were...
So mass production, and also with the fact that this wooden monocoque fuselage was a pretty new innovation.
Yes, yeah. So they knew, but they understood mass production. But they ended the war making D7s under license, Fokker D7s under license.
Any other particular notable quirks of the airframe? I note the radiator up on the top wing.
Yeah, the previous version of this had it in the middle, where the pilots weren't terribly keen. If you've got a bullet in your radiator, you're going to get, the next thing, you're going to get a lot of hot water all over you. Interestingly, in the desert, they had 2 sets of radiators, one either side of the fuselage.
And what kind of tactics were used with this aircraft?
So, playing to its strengths, it could dive and climb, and it had lots of ammunition. So that's exactly what it used to do, which is to try and sneak up on unsuspecting Allied aircraft and then fire at it and climb away before it had time to deal with it. The riposte was, if you had an agile aircraft like the DH2, then you turned away from it before it could actually get to an engaging solution. And unfortunately, was Lano Hawker, who was the first flying ace, by that time commander of 24 Squadron from January 16 onwards. He died in a combat with von Richthofen in a D3.
Wow. And you mentioned this is a reproduction built to original plans by the Vintage Aviator in New Zealand.
That's correct, yeah.
And you operate this aircraft as the World War I Aviation Heritage Trust. Please tell me a bit about it.
Yeah, so doorstepped on a visit to New Zealand. My daughter was working on the Hobbit, and she met the managing pilot, and we went and visited the airfield and the factory. And along the way, I was encouraged to set up a trust, which I did when I got back to the UK, and they lent me some aeroplanes. The aeroplanes are now under private ownership, and we operate them on behalf of their owner.
And you operate them here, and they appear at flying displays like today to tell the story of the First World War.
Well, our strapline is keeping the aviation legacy of World War I alive. So that's, and in relation to the simulator, we are going to schools regularly. We do offer them a STEM day, which involves flying a mission on the simulator. They get to write poems on seeded paper, which we're later, at the beginning of July, we're taking to the commemorations of the Somme. I'm going to drop them there. And they also have a quiz about Lano Hawker. So very enthusiastic response, and all the people that are involved in it love doing it because of that response.
Well, fantastic. It's great to hear about your work, and thank you for speaking to us, Dick.
Not at all.